It's a great day to be a coyote. Welcome, Coyote Nation, to another episode of Back the Pack Show, where we're going to be bringing you all your favorite games, memories, and of course, discussions with our fellow coyotes. As a disclaimer, we have no affiliation to the University of South Dakota. This is a podcast for fans, ran by ran by fans for fans. The ideas and comments do not represent the university. Our opinions are our own. Be sure to find us on Twitter at BackThePackSD and join the USD Coyote Fans Nation page on Facebook. Last but not least, join the Howling Pack or the Yote Fund at www.goyotes.com. With that said, let's talk some coyote football.
All right. Apparently, me putting you on the spot threw your game off.
Man, you think I'd have that memorized by now as many times as we've done it. I don't even know
myself.
I don't even know what episode number we're on, but it is the off season, so we're a little rusty too. We need some spring camp, some summer camp, some fall camp. Get back in this thing.
This is our 42nd live stream.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we're moving right along. The numbers are flying up there. Been here for over a year now. It's been a blast, that's for sure.
It has been, man. This is so cool. And I know, right now, obviously, it's the off season, and you and I and Grant, we've got stuff going on too with kids' activities, and that's why Grant can't be here tonight. But it's been a blast, and we're in list season right now. I call it list season because we're just updating people on all the lists, all the changes going on with the football program. So with that said, I want to say hello, Mr. Yote fan. How you doing, buddy? Welcome to the show yet again. If you're tuning in live, go ahead and drop some comments in there along the way. Ask questions, throw out your opinions, whatever it is. You might make it on the show. So thank you for listening live for all those folks. But Jake, man, how you doing?
I'm good, and I'm just gonna say it. If you comment, you're gonna make it on the show.
There you go.
We love the fan interaction. It makes the show honestly more personal. We're having fun with it. We just don't feel like a radio broadcast at that point, in my opinion. But
for sure,
I'll tell you what, I'm feeling good. I don't know about you guys that if you follow Twitter or not, but transfer portal's done, and the high school season already heated up. Coaches sitting on a very impressive recruit that I'm excited for once he announces.
Yeah, so we're going to touch on the transfer portal here real quick. Just a couple updates highlighted in yellow since we last talked on Thursday. But you mentioned high school recruiting too. So the portal has calmed down now that it's closed, and not a lot of spots left on teams. So not really going to see a bunch more guys added to this list. We were guesstimating right around maybe 20, somewhere between 20 and 25. We're up to 18, man, with nine transfers leaving and 18 coming in. But overall, really happy with what we've been able to do in this spring window. And man, ton of fun. I'm looking forward to where this goes. And then, like you mentioned, with high school too. Now we're kind of fast tracking, trying to get the class of 2026 going.
Yeah, exactly. I will say this: I do hope that USD football Twitter account comes out once these guys all get here and settle in. Announce them and their number. Just let the fans connect to them and their numbers, get used to it kind of thing, because it is tough without these guys having their names on the back of the jerseys. It definitely makes it difficult getting to know everybody quickly.
Yes.
But I would love to see something like that just to drum up some excitement on the new faces showing up.
I agree. That's a good idea. And it is tough. There's so much change now, especially in the new world of college football and college athletics. So it is tough. Us guys, the folks that are here watching and tuning in and listen to us, they're football junkies too. So they know these names and they're learning them as we go. But there's a lot of people that it'll be the first time they see them. And there's a lot to take in.
Hey, I'm going to have troubles keeping up with this list. Yeah, I'll be honest. I for the most part, I feel like I got the names kind of figured out. I couldn't blind read them to you by any means. But
sure.
Once they put their jersey and pads on, I'm not going to know who they are.
Right. All right, let's do this. Let's look at the three transfers that we've received here in the last week, starting off with big offensive lineman, Wyatt Lawson from FIU, Florida International. He's a grad transfer, 6'3", 305. He has 1 year of eligibility left. So when I look at this one, Jake, obviously he has some playing experience too. Mm-hmm. He has the right height and weight that we're looking for. Very much a Missouri Valley-sized lineman. And on this one, I think of like guys like Mike Reed last year. The grad transfers, they seem to do really well here with us. And So I think we have a history of a couple grad transfers over the last couple of years, and this is just yet another one coming in that we expect to start. Would you say start, or at least
Start.
okay? That's what I was thinking too. I know we haven't talked about that, you and I, but I was thinking as a starter.
It'll be interesting to see what they do because I truly believe so. Wyatt, crazy stat with him. He actually started every game last season for Florida International.
Yep.
He still decided to transfer to the University of South Dakota. So I'm really excited about that. But I think you're looking at with Prim and Lawson, you're looking at our two tackles right there.
Yeah, we'll put up his graphic there.
There's some big dogs. They're ready to go work. I know coaches are excited about all the potential on this entire list, whether it is next season or a couple years down the road. You look at that, there's a lot of eligibility on that list, and I truly think that they took this approach as almost like high school recruiting.
Yes, very much
You
so.
look at the secondary. You got Deshaun Carter. He's got 2 years of starting, 2 year starter, and then you got Dewan Lewis with 4 years of experience. Outside of that, you got
Young.
three guys with plenty of time ahead of them.
Yep, I think there was a good balance just overall on this list
Mhm.
of guys that had a good experience and looking to come into maybe more of a winning program or a better culture, what have you. And then you got a bunch of young guys that are kind of filling in some maybe holes, depth wise or whatever, or like you said, kind of like high school recruiting at this point, using the portal to build that depth for the future, and that's what you're seeing here.
Exactly. And one name I do want to touch on that has not been touched, at least by me, but it's going to be that Jalen Anderson, that running back out of West Virginia. Hold on, when that guy runs, you're going to feel the ground shake. He's going to lay the wood.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do, especially coming from a bigger school like that, P4, whatever. So
Yeah.
next one on the list is Kalen Presser. Big this kid, man, holy so I don't know that I've ever seen have you seen a defensive end this tall before? 6'7", 240 pounds?
Dude, I seldomly see football players this tall.
It's rare.
Yeah. He's a power forward out there.
I say, can Coach Petey use him, play some basketball?
Hey, he's perking his ears up, that's for sure. No, this one's exciting. A length like that off the edge is gonna be insane. You're gonna have, obviously with length comes wingspan, and
Yeah.
that's out and up. So obviously he's gonna get his hands up, knock down passes. I would not be surprised if teams just don't throw to that side of the field because of his length.
Yeah.
And then, yeah,
I don't, again, we don't have a lot to go on in terms of like highlights or stats or anything like that with him and a lot of these guys, but just looking at the size, right? That's going to be interesting. I think that can truly be a difference for us. So, and I think you mentioned this in our group text this week too, when we saw him commit to us. You mentioned that we do run a kind of a platoon or a hockey style, defense, especially the defensive line, where you're seeing 3-4 subs at a time come in, where we're rotating to keep guys fresh. And so, a lot of these guys, especially the defensive line, you're going to see all these guys play.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we had 4-5 starters for the D line going into the season before the transfer portal hit, and we got all of these guys. Now I think the depth is right where they want it to be. I think they feel good with it, and that, yeah, you're right. It's going to be a hockey shift on that. They're going to really push it out to keep people fresh, because the trenches is where everything is won or lost.
Yeah, and we've historically done that. And I don't
Mhm.
expect that to change, even with Billy Kirch, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But last but not least here, Ashton Jet Payne coming from Washington State. Another one. I was kind of excited to see this when you see, obviously, they had the coaching change there. And now this is our second player from Washington State, 6'2", 195. He's listed as a safety. Again, another young guy, 4 years of eligibility left.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you guys saw that article that came out recently about the stud linebackers. It's a really cool position for the average football fan out there. It's much like the star position, but it's going to be spent more as a linebacker than a secondary player. I wouldn't be shocked if Ashton gets down into that level of playing too
Yeah, and I know which article you're talking about. That come out either I think today, didn't it?
today. Yeah.
Yeah, today. I saw Eric Bell was in there too, another young guy that was,
Mhm.
I think, maybe a safety out of high school. And I see they're transitioning him to that position. And that position's kind of unique, and I don't know that there's a lot of schools that do what we do with that.
It, it's definitely a newer position, and this is something that Billy's bringing over from his time at Northwestern. I'm excited for it though because it is a dude that's going to thump,
Hmm.
but also be able to get out in coverage, which is perfect for the playing style of the Missouri Valley offenses out there. It's a lot of ground and pound, and just take what you can get defensively on the or offensively on the passing side of things. So it's a good addition with Coach Kirch, and then also with Ashton Payne on this.
Yeah, so you're a little more familiar with the terminology. So is the stud linebacker, and I'm referring to that article that came out today,
Mhm.
different than the star position, or is that the same, just going to be different terminology with Billy Kirch? Do you know?
Similar, I do think with the stud linebacker, he's going to play more in the box
Okay.
compared to a star safe. Usually, a star is a safety, so they'll back into coverage a little more. You know what? I think the best way to answer this question, let's just get Coach Kirch on.
There you go. Let's get
Yeah,
him
maybe
on.
we do that.
That sounds
He
good to
can answer
me.
that for us.
I'm good with talking a little defense.
Oh yeah,
All right, so
no,
just to kind of
I'm
wrap up
excited.
the transfers, what like, overall, I think we said this last week too. We were really happy with where the list was, and to see three more names get put up there.
Mhm.
I think at this point we talked about losing 9, and we've got 18 now coming in. I think we're pretty darn happy with where we ended up with the portal.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they went out and got one more on the O line, but I'm gonna call this done. You pull it out the oven, she's cooked. We're perfect.
I think so too. And obviously, we've talked about this too in several episodes. But like losing some of those big names, household names, especially to Coyote fans, and even in the Valley, it sucks. But at the same time, you're gonna have new names that you're gonna learn and get accustomed to here, and some of them are gonna be on this list that are gonna become household names for Coyote fans really quickly. And I think that's kind of where my excitement is.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of look at it too. So let's take Joe Cotton for reference, just because I mean, he's a household name. He's a stud player. We got 2 years out of him. He spent 3 years redshirted one,
Right.
but now we got uh, Amarian Krim coming in, who has 2 years of starting background.
Yep.
We definitely went one for one kind of thing here. We shuffled down the deck. I do think Krim is going to be top notch for us, but they definitely kind of targeted filling the holes with the exact same.
Agreed. All right, you want to move on to kind of what we really want to talk about tonight, and that is
Yeah.
the coaching changes. So I want to preface this conversation, Jake, with just saying the only constant at this point with our program is change, and it seems to be the theme of life, right? You kind of get
Yep.
set, and you think everything's going good, and all of a sudden something changes, and that's just it is what it is, and it's especially true this year. We weren't hit nearly as hard last year. And I think we talked about this when we had Coach Johansson on, is that with the success of the program, comes guys getting promotions and getting plucked by bigger schools or even the NFL in some cases here on our list.
Mm.
And so that's just kind of the nature of the beast at this point. But we're going to take you through some of these, so I'll let you kind of go ahead and wherever you want to start.
Yeah. Let's. I'm gonna pull this back up. Make sure we're started. So, yeah, I do get a chuckle when you put Coach Johansson as a departure in addition, which is true. You're 100% right. He is no longer our defensive coordinator. But yeah,
Now
I
that
think
I made the additions list down below, I'd probably take him off the departures because that's kind of a that we had
yeah,
several promotions internally there.
we'll definitely start on the departure side of things. This is where it's most important. Obviously, we all know Coach Davis stepped away. That was a while ago, but I kind of want to get caught up on the new names that maybe aren't thrown around as much. Uh, but the first one, and I do think this was probably one of the two biggest names we lost, is Coach Nady. What he did with the O line and that development, and it felt like it was very quick.
Hmm.
We went
Yeah, because he,
from
he wasn't here long either. Was it 2 years?
2 years. Yeah, he came in after we got blown out by UNI, and then after that, we were one of the best running teams in the nation.
Yeah.
It was that quick.
Yeah.
And what he did recruiting wise, yeah, we had Joe Cotton come in, and he was here for that rough season, and then 2 years with Coach Nady. But Coach Nady's O-line recruiting that he did, he got us the greatest or the highest rated high school recruit we've ever got, and he's on the
Yep.
O-line with Jacob Arope. You
Yep.
got Brendan Crisp. I feel it's Sam is what I that's what I can
Is
remember.
it Sam Hawker?
Sam Hawkins. Yeah.
Yeah, from
Uh,
Wisconsin. Yep.
from Wisconsin. Those three names right there are going to be household names maybe this year, definitely next year. And those were recruits that Coach Nady brought in.
Yep.
And so yeah, that one hurt.
And just I think he was really well liked. I think that they were a very cohesive unit. And yeah, I mean, you saw it every Saturday. I mean, it was just ground and pound with those guys. And like you said, it was a mix of talent, but I think definitely he's a big part of it. And then obviously the scheme too.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And then moving down the list, so Coach Ferentz, these next two, they're tough. It's hard to root
Yeah.
for previous. It's hard to root for previous Hawkeyes, but they sure did a great job, and I do appreciate their contributions. Ferentz was kind of
Hey, if we're gonna have former Hawkeye players or coaches on our team, I would prefer they're on the defense and not the offense. For anybody that watches the Hawkeyes, you know the offense is absolutely terrible. So give me all the defensive guys from Iowa. I'm fine with that.
yeah. Which I mean, you saw that. I've already shouted. That's the only props I'll ever give the Hawks is their defense is fantastic.
Yes.
But Ferentz, he did work with the kind of the outside linebackers too, and the D line. So we all saw his development that he put together. Obviously, it's easy to turn your focus to what Grace did in
Right.
his time with Ferentz. So his coaching is gonna be missed, and it's really gonna be interesting to see what Coach Nelson does stepping into that.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously personal favorite, fan of the show. He was on guest of the show, and Coach Hodge. I mean, I think that one out of all these, besides obviously Coach Nielsen, that one probably hurts the most. And that's just because he's such a good dude, and just I don't know. I feel like his development and his recruiting were underrated by probably most. Not definitely not by us and the fans of this show, but I think just by the general Coyote fan base, and outside the Coyote fan base too. So he's going to be a big loss. And that position, just kind of looking ahead of the coaching additions, that position has not been filled yet, or at least announced, has it, Jake?
It has not, no. And I do want to touch on it. And this is going to be more of a message to all the Coyote fans out there. This was Mr. Energy.
Yes.
And I joked about it on Twitter a few times. There's pictures of him jumping with the players. This guy outjumped all of our players. Now, granted, they're
every big play when they come to the sideline,
offense or defense, it did not matter. So with it,
somebody's gonna have to bring the juice. Someone's gonna have to bring the juice. Like someone's gonna have to fill that role.
Honestly, if it comes down to it, I'm ripping my shirt off and twirling around like a helicopter, just yelling my head off, just to try and get as close as possible to Coach Hodges' energy.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, I mean, yes, what he did with the linebackers, what he had as when he first got here, but what he developed as well is going to be missed. But it's energy on game day. He was the first coach I ever got to interview. I was nervous as could be in that situation because it was obviously the first big interview for the show.
Yeah.
But I have so much respect for what he was able to do for the Coyotes, but what he's going to do, growing his family. I'm so excited for him to have a boy now too, but also working with some linebacker development down in Florida. I can really see Coach Johansson working that connection a little bit.
I say maybe as long as he keeps that pipeline flowing, right? Because he's got those linebacker camps that he's still doing, and if he can identify some talent, send it our way, man, that'd be icing on the cake.
Yeah, he didn't leave on bad terms by any means.
No, definitely not.
I'd say he left on disappointing terms. Just because it's disappointing to lose him.
Yeah. All right, let's do And obviously, Coach Nielsen, we've
Mhm.
talked about that several times on this show, but with his retirement, and with that comes Travis Johansson's promotion, right? From defensive coordinator. He was the assistant head coach prior to him taking that role. We kind of thought, at least Jake, you and I and Grant had thought maybe we were 1 year away from that. We thought Bob had one more year, and just the way everything transpired, we end up with Travis in that role a little sooner than later. So,
Yep.
yeah, so that's obviously the biggest one, right? And we've had him on this show. If you missed that show, you can go back and find it on Spotify, or even here on YouTube.
Yes.
So definitely encourage you to go check that out. But yeah, thoughts on Travis coming, Coach Johansson coming in.
I'm fired up. When it comes to college football right now with NIL, with the transfer portal as fluid as it is a breath of fresh air to have a young coach that is going to grasp the social media aspect of it, the new
I say
approaches
we've
to
been having fun with him on there. There you go.
Yeah. So, and it's absolutely no disrespect to Coach Nielsen. What he did
Nope.
for USD, I can't return the favor in any way, shape, or form. But I know what Coach Johansson's doing with the baton is just going to elevate the program. Coach Nielsen put it up very high. Johansson's going to finish off the job.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have the utmost faith and confidence in him and the staff that he's put together, right? And he's been busy. Kind of good transition here to go right down the list, but he's been busy with a lot of turnover. In fact, I think if
Yes.
you look at the entire staff, all the assistants here, I think maybe Dante is about the only Coach Warren for running backs coach. I think he's about the only one left from the original group that was brought in, say 2019, 2020. All these names are relatively new within the last year or two, and quite a few of these are new going into this year. So go ahead and take us through these, Jake.
Yeah. I'm really excited about Coach Kirsch and what he did with Northwestern, but I do want to start with you got to help me with Coach Patrick's last name there.
Oh,
Markarian.
Mark Herring, yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm I'm pumped up about this. So not just what he did at Fresno State, but it's his time that he spent before Fresno State at Baylor. He actually got to work with the O line of Baylor, and that was during the 2012 season or 2022 season. They were the top 5 offense entirely in the Big 12 in that year, and that was back with Texas and Oklahoma at the time. So don't forget that. But they
Yeah.
had, over 2,300 yards rushing. I'm pumped about what he brings expertise wise. Like I said, I'm excited for young talent in the coaching pool. But not only that, he also knows how to play O line in the Missouri Valley
I was gonna say,
with
can we
his
give him
time.
some crap for playing at Indiana State?
You know what? Everybody's allowed to make a bad decision once. It's what you do after the decision that defines you. And he
Right.
made a great decision.
No, I'm not knocking him at all, but
Hey,
just the school, nothing
can we
personal.
talk about? He got Indiana State to the playoffs. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, we can definitely give him a pat on the back for that because that is an honest achievement right there.
Yes. So I'm pumped with what he's going to be able to do. He's got a lot of capabilities and he's kind of raw, untapped potential on there. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
And he's got a lot of new pieces to play with, like we just got done talking about,
Hmm.
both with young guys that we had on the roster and some transfers coming in. It's going to be interesting how he assembles that puzzle to get those guys to gel as quickly as possible. And that's for me, Jake, if we're just talking about the season in general, that's kind of
Hmm.
where our season hinges on is how well that O line can come together, put the best 5 together, and protect Aiden because we know what we have coming back at quarterback. It's going to hinge on that offensive line. We know we're a run first team. And we had 2,000-yard rushers last year, but 4 of those 5 are gone. Of those offensive linemen are gone. And so, How does he's got a tall task, kind of figuring that out and putting the pieces together to get the best 5 that can come together and figure that out. So I'm curious to see how that goes.
So this guy here is going to just hype up the show tonight and then totally ditch us. Huh?
Grant must be done with softball. He's
Yep. Softball's
chiming in
over.
the comments. What up, Grant?
But yeah, I'm pumped about that. And moving down the list, gonna kind of fly through these here. Coach Walker, though, He's bringing a lot of talent, a lot of capabilities from what he got to do in Minnesota. He spent 2 years there. First year as just a grad assistant, but then his second year he actually got promoted up to assistant wide receivers coach. And I know, and I can't remember the player's name, but Minnesota has had some stud wide receivers recently, and so he's going to pull in some what he learned up there down here pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that was on PJ Fleck's staff too, which they've had some pretty good success here recently at the University of Minnesota.
Oh, who's that?
This one, Jake. I'm more excited. I think for maybe his recruiting. I think that he may give us an edge in recruiting, and I think we've seen him and Coach Finney, who we'll get to here in a second. I think they've both been pretty busy here this last week with high school recruits.
Yeah. One thing we're excited. There's two different Coyotes that we're excited about: Florida Coyotes on the defensive side, and Colorado Coyotes just in general.
Yes.
Well, Coach Walker is from Florida, actually, so I could definitely see him working that relationship there and building up some more pipelines for us.
Absolutely. And we got Ray chiming in here, row the oat.
I love it and hate it.
Hey, you know what though? Like I said, I think that having him is going to be an asset when it comes to recruiting in both the transfer portal and high school. And so I think you're going to see an injection of talent over the next couple of years here at the wide receiver position. Not saying we were bad off, but I think the bar may be raised just a tad with him.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with Javion Phelps. He's loaded with some potential. So
yes, and a lot of untapped potential too at that.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a project that I think he's really excited to work.
Absolutely. Next one, Nathan Nelson, defensive line, yes. Arkansas Monticello. Anything about Nathan yet?
So really with it, not a whole lot, but he is from the University of Iowa. So
there you go. We just talked about that, having defensive guys from Iowa.
Yep. So he was a defensive graduate assistant at his alma mater for Iowa, but then went to Arkansas Monticello for the 2023 season.
So that's a D2 school, if I'm not mistaken. So he's working his way up the rung here. Next stop, USD. And he's got, we lost all 4 starting defensive linemen. If you throw Grace in there, 4 out of 4, gone on that defensive line. So again, he's got, just like the offensive line, and I'm a big trenches guy. We say that every single week when we talk our preview show. If we win the trenches, we win the game. And so he's got a lot of rebuilding to do as well. And he's got some pieces both internally and bunch that came in the transfer portal he's going to have to put together to figure out what the best units are there.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm pumped about it. And I'll say it again, I guess, but if you're going to have a Hawkeye on staff, it might as well be a defensive Hawkeye.
There you go. All right, so linebacker position, that's relatively new to being open here with Coach Hodge departing. So
I will say this, I'm not going to name names because it hasn't been released, but Mitch, you also know we're pretty good at putting pieces together of who followed us recently. Seen a name pop up that started following the Back to Pack podcast that maybe not. I don't know. I haven't asked around. I'm not going to bug coaches on that.
Sure.
But I think we have a name figured out.
Yeah. And not to toot our own horn a little bit, but like our following, Jake and Grant, if you're still listening, it's growing to the point where we've got players and coaches now tapping into us on Twitter, X, and it's pretty cool to see. I know, part of, why we did this obviously is the fan side, but then also it's just living that and seeing it kind of come to fruition and grow on Twitter has been fantastic. So seeing those names pop up, and we're having a ton of fun interacting with those guys on there. So it's you start connecting dots, right? And like you said, we're starting to see names, both players and coaches, which is really cool. So more to come on that one. And then how about Coach Eric Finney, cornerback, Cincinnati?
So I'm actually pumped about this because it's not his time at Cincinnati. I mean, he assisted, he's quality control coach for them.
Yeah.
But it's what he did in his previous years from 2018 to 23. He spent his time not just in the community college level, but he spent his time at Iowa Western, which for the football freaks out there that follow along on pretty much every level, they're top dogs down at the JUCO level. And I will say this, it does feel like, at least in the Coyote side, we have not tapped into the JUCO market as much as I think we should. And if we can have a pipeline to Iowa Western, I actually do think if you pulled some of those, if you pulled up 50% of their team, they would be a very competitive team in the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, and you've seen we've had a little bit of success already from getting players from that JUCO level. So I agree with you on that thought. I think it's got to be kind of be in proportion a little bit, in that I don't want to go too heavy on it, but I think if you take the top players, you take the top tier talent from the JUCO level, you're not wrong in that they would have instant success up here at this level.
Yep.
And we've
Yeah,
seen it.
the one consistent that we've seen so far through all this, every single person has played college football too. Coach Finney, he played
Yes.
at University of, if I remember correctly, it's University of Illinois. Got plenty of starts. He was a team captain when it was all said and done.
Right.
So that tells you, he lives for football, and that's the kind of people I want on staff.
Yeah, and then last but not least, a name that Yoke fans should be familiar with. He played for both the Blue School and us, Josh Manchagaya, and he most recently came. I guess he was with us for a bit and then left to go to Iowa, and now he's back. And I find this one interesting, Jake, because I think before we had one coach for cornerbacks and safeties, right? And now we're ending up with two, if I'm not mistaken, right? They split those two. Didn't Miles have both?
Yes.
So we kind of added a coach. So like, I guess what I'm saying is we added another assistant coach in all of these changes. You end up with one more, because the corners and safeties are now split between two guys.
Yeah, this is, in my opinion, a huge opportunity. It really gives, because corners and safeties are two completely different setups. Yeah, I mean, they can run man, they both run zone, but the reads that they have to go through at pre-snap and post-snap are completely different. And so you have two different coaches really focusing on the technique and cues. It's going to be a huge benefit. And I also, Mitch, I just want to give you a shout out for absolutely nailing his last name, because apparently they just want to make me struggle through this.
I appreciate that. Well, I do remember, like I said, I do remember when he did, transfer from SDSU to us and finished his career as a Coyote. And so, I've heard his name on a couple other shows too. So, which, by the way, shout out, while we're here, shout out to the Yokecast podcast with John Thayer, because he's had a couple of these coaches already on here this, between, say, February and now, these last couple of months. He's had some of these coaches on. So if you want to hear maybe a 20-minute interview with some of these guys, go back in the Yokecast podcast on Apple or Spotify and check that out, because he has interviews with a lot of these guys already. So just shout out to him and that show. If you're not listening to that show on a weekly basis, definitely encourage you to go do that. Subscribe to the Yokecast podcast with Mr. Thayer. He's fantastic.
Yeah. I'm excited for this staff. Coach Johansson got thrown absolutely straight into the fire right away to start.
It's brutal. Absolutely brutal.
You could ask for a worse starting situation as a head coach and the best starting situation as possible.
Yeah.
You have a national contending team, and then all of a sudden some holes start popping out, whether it is coaching staff or players' side. But then I honestly think he patched with more than just duct tape on these holes.
Absolutely. I think he did a fantastic job filling the spots with some quality guys. But yeah, I mean, to be a first-time head coach and come in and see that much change, both with the top players leaving and a bunch of assistant coaches leaving, that's tough. I know he's been super busy just putting together the staff, right, and trying to, and then go through spring ball and just get everybody kind of on the same page and learning to work together, both from a staff and a player's perspective. It was a really weird time, and so I'm looking forward to, I guess, the fall and just seeing what kind of how this all comes together, and like you mentioned it, we had high expectations. We were top two. It was us and NDSU kind of title favorites here, kind of as the season ended and heading into 2025-26. And then all of this happened, and it hit quick. So now it's just rebuilding it and seeing where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head with where the team was when we left, for the most part, I feel like everybody kind of felt like Grace was going to be leaving anyways. It just
Yep,
seemed like it was going to happen.
for sure.
So that one didn't surprise pretty much anybody. But after that Montana State game, even with losing Grace, I'm pretty sure anybody on here would argue that USD not only was a top two team, I think they could have walked into the national championship with the talent that they had. Here's the thing, though, my expectations have not changed. I truly believe this team is going to compete for a national championship. There's going to be a lot of media heads saying that there's a lot of question marks on this.
Yep.
But if you're dorky enough to go through and watch the film like I was on these transfers coming in, you're going to be salivating. Like, these kids are fantastic. They did a fantastic job plugging and playing these guys. I will say I'm a little nervous about the first couple games just to see the gelling.
Yeah, exactly.
But after that, I think it works out really well. Obviously, the Iowa State game to start, you can't throw a bunch of new players together against an FBS opponent who's probably going to be the top 25. But then afterwards, you follow it with Drake, Northern Colorado, and Lamar, if I remember correctly.
I think Lamar's
And
second, but yeah, you got it.
yeah, just the non-conference in general. Those three are all kind of down opponents in general. Northern Carolina was very low, finished very low in their rankings. Drake's non-scholarship, and then Lamar. We'll just let Seatbelt handle that game for us. But
There you go.
that's really good. 3 games where I think a lot of fans are going to be slightly disappointed in the outcome of the score, in the sense of we're not winning 42-7 anymore, but it will be like a 38-13 wins because we're tinkering. And
Yeah, and that's
then,
kind of what I was getting at with both
mhm,
offense and defensive line too. Is it's going to take a little bit of time. I don't, you can talk about the practices and summer and guys trying to get to know each other and stuff like that, but I think it's going to take some time for these guys to really kind of get on the same page, both from a staff and a player's perspective. Now, the quicker they can do it, obviously, the better the results are going to be. But I think it is going to take, like you said, a couple games to kind of just put it all back together and and get rolling. But yeah, Yoke fans comment here between the portal and hiring new coaches, he's been drinking from a fire hose. Exactly. And I'm ready for some football. Well, Yoke fan, what are we? What did we say, Jake? 107
7.
days.
Yep.
107 days to football. Only 15 Saturdays. So we are inching ever so closer to August 30th in Ames. But
Mhm.
man, I tell you what. After I know Yoke fan. He's in here every Thursday night with us. But like
He's more consistent than I am.
same here. Same here. We've all missed the show once in a while. Yoke fans always here, but
Yep.
it's we look at this almost every day, right? We're updating stuff. We're looking at players and thinking about this, and I'm right there with you. I am ready for actual football and start to talk about preview shows and look at opponents and dive into the weeds on that.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. No, I'm excited. I'm going to throw this one last image up for us. It's time. This is as close as you can get to football, Yoke fan. I will say that right now. At least buy your tickets and just look at them and start reminiscing.
There you go. Go look at your digital receipt as you renewed your season tickets and be like, just think about all the goodness that's coming here a couple months.
You know what we should do? We should start just once a week. We'll post videos, because YouTube actually has a lot of USD old football games on there. Whether it's full or you got Matt highlights number 2 on there, putting 25-minute games up there. It's a great spot to make yourself feel good and enjoy some football, even though you probably know what the play call is going to be.
It's awesome. And Grant chimes in here. Iowa State, tough first game with a lot of new faces for sure. I agree. I think, as we ended the season and we knew Iowa State was the opening opponent, and with their schedule, it was kind of a trap game because they're going overseas and they come back to play us before they play the Hawkeyes. We were feeling pretty good. I know we liked our chances. We were super optimistic, actually, even though we knew Iowa State was going to be good. Just the way that where the game fell, we felt like we were super optimistic. Now I would say, what are your kind of where are you at, Jake?
All right, we'll see. I think we might have lost Mitch there. There you go. You kind of froze for a sec.
Oh, sorry. I
I,
was
I'm not
I,
gonna.
I was just saying I'm not as optimistic.
So I I will tell you this: when this show comes, where we actually get to break down the Iowa State game, I will 100% have every single listener here convinced USC is going to walk out with a 10-point win. Because here's the thing: if there's one other team that I know inside and out, from top to bottom roster all the way through, it's going to be Iowa State. And so I might be a homer in what I'm saying, but every piece of it will be true. And I'm just taking it as an absolute win in the best case scenario.
So yeah, and you're absolutely the guy, right? Because they're both your teams. So we're gonna trust everything that you say leading up to that game. But I will say, I think Aiden's probably going to be a little bit too juiced. I think that first series that he's out there, he's probably going to be overthrowing receivers because he's going to be a little too amped up.
Yeah, we'll see. He's been in those situations. He was calm, cool, and collected against Wisconsin. I think the name on the jersey of this opponent will make it a little more interesting, just being the school that recruited him out of high school. But I don't think he has any bad. He doesn't have any bad blood towards Iowa State.
No,
They
definitely
just
not.
they brought in 2 4-star quarterbacks at the same time with him and Hunter Deckers, and you know what? One's in the NFL after a small gambling stint, but they chose Deckers over him, and he wanted to play football. That's
And
all as simple as can be.
speaking of the league, right? I think if Aiden plays his cards right, he's coming in as a number 1 or number 2 overall quarterback in FCS. If he has
Number one. He's
we
number one.
will argue to the grave that he should be number 1, even though some national media folks have him at 2. Um, he's definitely on the right track, and if he has a big season, which we fully expect him to do, I think he will get some attention, more so than he did this past year.
Yep, exactly. No, I'm so pumped for the football to start. I don't want to wish away summer because it's an absolute blast getting a chance to fish, kind of relax with the kids getting out of school and whatnot. But I'm pumped for the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we were down in the dumps a couple weeks ago when the portal opened and we were losing guys, but now that we filled those spots and the coaching staff is pretty much solidified there, and just looking forward to. Grant says number
Exactly.
1. Yes, Grant. We will die on that hill.
Perfect. And real quick, I just want to say too, for everybody, if there is anybody here that is not currently, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us on Spotify as well. I'm having an absolute blast with this. People are still watching, so it tells me that they're enjoying it. The moment that we quit getting views is the day we quit, but we're really enjoying everything we've done so far.
Yeah, and just appreciate everybody who does tune in and listen to us knuckleheads. And the other thing is, Jake, we've got some guests coming up. We're not going to give away who they are, but we are going to try to get some guests here this summer. We've had a couple weeks without guests, and trying to get back to having a guest on the show, do some more interviews, and just have a little fun this summer and hopefully pass the time a little quicker.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pumped about all of this. So, with that, I don't have anything else to add. Do you have anything else, Mitch?
Nope, I don't have anything else. Just appreciate everybody who tunes in and gives us a follow, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
Perfect. Well, easiest thing to say now is go Yotes.
Go Yotes.